All right. All right, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, the Thursday before Memorial Day weekend. Hope everybody's excited. Hopefully you got all your work done. You can plow through today. Hopefully tomorrow will be a light day for you so you can get a good mindset for the extra day on Monday. We all need to rest and kind of recharge. It's like that old analogy. If you gave two people an axe each and told them to go cut down as many trees as possible within, say, 12 hours, who do you think would win? The person that never took a break or the person who took a break every hour to sharpen their axe? So it's kind of like you need to take that little break every once in a while. My name is Rob Romanowski. For those of you who are on the webinar for the first time, I'm the Director of Sales Operations for 3HTI. Today, leading the charge is going to be Paul Dye, an application engineer with PTC. Paul's an awesome guy, knows his stuff, does a great job with these presentations for us. And what I'm really excited about this extension is that you don't have to buy it. You already have it. If you have Creo, you have this extension. So the purpose of this particular webinar is to be informative. We always want to be informative with our webinars and educate people on the extensions that are available. The most popular ones, the ones that I guess mean the most to people, to assist them in design with Creo. But it's always good to be able to say, hey, here's something you already have. And this gives you some insight, because sometimes people don't realize they have this extension. They don't realize that it's embedded in Creo already. And what's great about it is instead of making different iterations of your part or your product and having a bunch of different CAD files, you can create checkpoints and iterations within one Creo file using this. So it helps to really keep your data management clean and reduce the amount of CAD files that you have. I mean, how many times have you tried to find the right CAD file and you end up making a new one because you don't know which one's the right one or how recent it is? So hopefully this extension can be beneficial for you. And if you don't know how to use it and you're a customer, we'll show you how to use it. All you have to do is contact me. So anyway, without further ado, I'm going to let Paul take over control and review the design exploration extension for PTC Creo. Paul, it is all yours.
All right. Thank you very much, Rob. You can hear me. You can see my screen all good?
Loud and clear, and I see the screen.
All right. Thank you very much. Yeah, very happy to be here. Like Rob mentioned, this is one of the reasons I like working with 3HTI, just because they want to see people do design better, right? Whether it's helping out with training, whether it's just telling them what they already have and showing you how to use it. This is something that really a lot of people don't even know that they have access to.
Yep.
It's something right out of the design essentials packaging. If you have that, you already have this. And I'm going to go through and show you how you get into it, how you work with it, and really probably most importantly, why it's actually useful. Like, what's the actual value of this? So I'm going to go through and cover all that, right? So we'll start from the top. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in. We'll definitely get anything answered for you. It shouldn't be too long on today, maybe about 15 minutes to go through everything and cover demonstration capabilities, and then we can keep going from there and then get you on to the Memorial Day weekend, which I know we're all looking forward to. And yeah, let's go ahead and dive right into it. Now, whenever I go through and talk to this extension, I really like to go through some of the main challenges that this looks to address. And it starts with the idea of trying out new ideas. Maybe you're working with something and you might be thinking of upgrading a current design, working on a new version of a model. Maybe you have a complex design, you want to make a significant change, but you're not exactly sure how to get to that. And it might start by going through the process of trying out a lot of new concepts, pretty quick fire, just to see how it might look. And then finally you do that and you say, okay, I've decided on a few new ideas that I want to incorporate. Well, how do you bridge that gap between the ideas that you're coming up with and getting to the new official design? These are all very real challenges, and we've seen it out in industry, and we've kind of seen what that process looks like today for some people. It might start by making all kind of backup files, just each with your new iterations, your different design changes. It tends to be a mess. You have models all over the place, leads a lot of times to opening, closing models, reloading. Every single time that you want to view a different design path, it becomes a nightmare of trying to keep that all straight. And one of the important things here is that we don't want to be losing the value of having multiple different designs built out that we can share, we can view. The problem is we don't want to just have a bunch of screenshots of some of the work that we've done. So we see a lot of people work around, and something that we want to avoid. What we want is to have different model configurations, different versions, have them all ready to review. And maybe in something like a design review, you decide on certain features that you like. Well, how hard is it going to be now for you to go back, sift through all the different versions to find the one that had the feature that you liked, the one part that you liked? This can eat up a lot of time, and definitely something that we want to have a solution to, and we do have a solution to, really to combat all those different challenges. And that's what we do with the design exploration extension in Creo. The process really involves exploring different design options to your heart's content, trying things out, risky or not, but also keeping track of everything that you've done throughout that process in a very clean, very easy to use environment. And I'm going to go through in a demonstration to show what all these different things I'm going to cover look like. But the process really begins with snapshots. You're instantly creating backups of the Creo session that you're working in, that you're beginning with. So you're starting with these pre-modified versions of the models that you have before you go through and make any changes. And then what you do is you capture each change that you make throughout the use of checkpoints. These are incremental changes that allow you to simultaneously explore a lot of different design ideas, branch off into different areas. And that's really the next step of this, is you can go through, toggle between those different checkpoints, branch do you want to go, to where you want to go, try different things out, gives you different options. Pick the path that's best for you, ultimately decide on something. And if you accept any of those changes, you can go ahead forward with it. Or at any point you say, you know what, no, let's go ahead, revert back, try out another path. Really gives you options and really gives you the ability to go through and try things out in a very risk-free type of environment. Design exploration really makes that process painless, no matter how many different paths you want to try. So maybe you're working on a design here, you go down one path, try some different things out, get a few different features built into it, and you say, yeah, this isn't actually what I wanted, right? Well, from here, then go ahead, switch back, try out another iteration, see where that takes you, start trying some things out. And then maybe it's a day or two later and you say, you know what, actually, I was right the first time. Well, that's cool. We still have that full history. We still have all the checkpoints that was associated with that. You can continue right back with that path right where you left off and start trying things out there. So around that though, you don't want to have to be the one that's managing all that, keeping track of all the different paths. That's really what we can allow the design exploration extension to do for us. So really making that process very straightforward. All right, so that's just a brief overview of what really the idea is with this. I'm going to go through and show a little bit about what that process actually looks like in the context of Creo. Again, if you have any questions throughout that, feel free to drop it in. But with that, we'll go ahead and jump in and start to look at that type of workflow. Alrighty, so for our demonstration here of the design exploration extension, we're going to be working with my Polaris snowmobile. And right now you can see just in a standard Creo session. And if you want to get started, you'll just simply go into manage session and say, I want to start into a design exploration session. Very easy to get into. First, go ahead and give it a name, something tied to what we're going to be working on here in the design session. In this case, it's going to be for working around a seat design. And you can see here, we start into the session with a pre-modified version of the model. And as we go through changes, make different changes throughout the design here, we're going to keep track of all of those using our checkpoints. All right, and that's what we want to do. Let's go ahead and try some different configurations here with our seat design. Go ahead and start first and foremost by removing the existing seat with that bar around the back, possibly just because we need to make some modifications to the gas tank or some of the adjacent geometry to that. And here I'm just simply removing a little bit more of that geometry so we can go ahead and work from there and start to build out new geometry. We're going to focus up here on our tank. Let's first start by opening up the sketch that we have for the outer surface of this tank. And maybe in this case, we want to go through, improve on the design. Maybe you want to increase the holding capacity of that tank. Just whatever changes that we want to make. It could be to the profile, the layout of that tank. Might need to increase the height in a few places, mess with the angle there. Just whatever changes that maybe in the past we were scared to make because we don't know exactly what it's going to change. Well, in design exploration, you can really do that carefree, right? You can go through, test things out, really have the freedom to do that within the session. And now when we make the change, we can actually see that we have an outdated feature. This is from some of our copy geometry. And what you can do with this now is go through and check out the specific differences here as well. What this allows you to do is see exactly what's been changed, which features are now outdated. You can see here that our outdated features will be outlined in gray, and then any of the changed features will be highlighted in orange. Very clear to see. And now from that point, I could choose not to have those updated if I didn't like the change, or if I'm fine with it, go ahead, update it, and keep moving on. And one of the things to note while we're doing this is that we're really just doing standard sort of CAD, Creo design work. It's nothing that really different than you would do on a normal day-to-day basis within your standard environment, right? The difference is now that the exploration session is watching this, it's keeping track of all that while we're working and noting all the changes that we're making throughout that design. All right, so now that I've made the changes that I need to my tank, I'm going to go ahead and bring in and assemble a new part under the seat design. To get this assembled in, we'll go ahead and use some standard Creo assembly mates. In this case, we'll take the global coordinate system and tie it with the local coordinate system that I have for my seat. And now I have more of a utility version of that snowmobile seat, something that I'm happy with for now. And what I'll do is make a checkpoint at this for this particular configuration. We'll give it a name, and now this will be our driver's seat 1. Acts as a very good point that we can branch from, or simply just a spot that maybe I want to reference back to later on. But from there, we can just keep going. We can add parts, delete parts, add in sub-assemblies, whatever modifications we need to from there. You can see here that we have some boundary blends and different surfaces that make up this main component. And we could go through, try some things out here, make some different changes, and at any point along the way, make those checkpoints to keep track of what we've done. It's really a lot of what the design exploration extension is all about, is giving you the chance to be creative in your design, try stuff out, and always be able to reference back to where you were. And what I'm actually going to do here is suppress my driver's seat part and bring in more of a stylized design. And one of the things that Rob actually mentioned earlier, and one thing to notice, is that at no point throughout this am I doing a file save as and making a copy and putting it into different folders that I have to sort through. All we do is build out these checkpoints here within this one streamlined session, allows me to see the full history of the design. And at this point, since it's a good stopping point, we'll just make a checkpoint there for our driver's seat 2 and keep moving on from there. And now we can go through and keep trying things out. There's really no limit to the amount of changes or the different iterations or branches that you can go through and build out. What I'm going to do first here is suppress the style surface that I added in and bring in a different version. And now this is really just for the sake of the demonstration. I already have these different features built out, but really the idea is that you would normally be going through here and working with the design, building out the geometry, creating things, really just doing your normal Creo work that you're used to. And then really at any point that you feel necessary when you're going to preserve that design history, build out a checkpoint. We'll do that here for our driver's seat 3. And now I have 3 different seat designs that I can switch between. I'm able to branch off of whatever path that I want to go off of from there. And again, it's not different files. It's not different copies that I have to open up, work with, compare the changes, do rework, none of that. I don't even have to accept any of these changes here. At any point, I could just go back to this pre-modified version of the model, work from there. And now from this point, maybe I want to try something else out. Before we do it though, before we make any of the changes to the seat design that we were going through and doing before. And what I want to do is build out a passenger seat in this case, a little bit towards the back of that snowmobile. So let's go ahead and start by clearing out the frame in the back. And with that, we'll actually delete the component. It doesn't change that pre-modified version that we started in with. It only has an effect at the particular checkpoint that you're working with in this specific branch, and it only takes effect if I choose to ultimately move forward with that design. Now I'll go ahead and bring in a subassembly that I've worked on, assemble that into my design. And again, this could be something that I already built out. This could be someone else on my team that's been working on this, that sent it over to me. I could be doing the design right here in the context of the assembly. And that's looking pretty good. So with that, we'll go ahead and make a checkpoint at that configuration. It's probably going to be step 1 in my design of that passenger seat, something that will act as the base for any of the changes that we want to make down the line. All right, so you can see here what we started off as more of a shorter design for that seat. I'm also curious maybe what this would look like if I increase the height of that backrest. We'll need to go and maybe make some modifications to the geometry that I had built out. And what you'll see is that the seat was actually designed using a freestyle surface. And you can see what it looks like to make some changes with that. If you've never worked with freestyle before, we have these different nodes that you're able to push or pull on very quickly to build this out, the sort of freeform surface geometry. It's a bit different from what you might have in your standard type of parametric methods that you might be used to. And all these points, I just want to move them around, simply see what that's going to look like. And actually, to mention on this as well, this is another tool that's just out of the box with Creo. You might already have access to, just haven't really seen much into it, but something that even just with the design essentials packaging, you have access to that too. So these two tools work very well in with one another. These are changes that, again, I could go back to later on if I wanted to and tighten up some of those dimensions. But for now, we're just using that tool to get a rough idea of what we want. Right here, we'll go ahead and accept those changes, regenerate the model. And I think it looks pretty good. Maybe in this case, though, the toddler design doesn't really work well with those handholds. So let's go ahead and suppress those. We could go through and build out some new handholds. We could design them. We could also bring in a subassembly that someone else on my team has been working on. In this case, I'll just unsuppress those handholds. And I definitely like how those turned out. So we'll go ahead and branch off of this design that we've been working with. And this will be for our passenger seat high design. All right, looks good. And again, we could branch off of that passenger seat, keep making changes if we wanted to. And it's all starting from that pre-modified version. We could take a look back and see where we came from here with that pre-modified checkpoint. So let's just take a look at the geometry that we started with and do the same for any of the checkpoints that we built out. So we could check out our design now for driver seat 1. Even though we were going through and working with that other branch of the iteration, you can see we could always step back, see where we're at with driver seat 2, do the same for driver seat 3. You can imagine this could be very useful for something like a design review, where you're very clearly able to show the changes that were made between each iteration. Also the thought process that went into each of those, it's all being captured right there. And that's one of the things to notice here too, is that one configuration may have only taken 10 minutes to create, another may have taken multiple days to build out. Doesn't matter. You can still have the full history of that, and you're always able to reference back to anything that you did there. Even though you're not making all those different files, you still have that full history. And from here, once you're happy with one of the iterations here, you want to move forward with that. Only at this point would you then accept those changes, and then it would be saved to the model that you're working with. And again, you could always revert back, but you can see that right now, we're just right back in the standard parametric environment. At any point forward too, if you wanted to go back into that session, you can still have access to all that. Even if you go through and make some changes forward from here, you can still always reference back to that session. So not a bunch of different copies that you have saved off. It's just all right within that session. Makes it very straightforward. Okay, so that's really what I wanted to cover, and really a lot of what that workflow looks like. And you can imagine it gives you tons of different benefits while you're working. One of the big things here is that it really allows you to embrace creativity, right? Try whatever you want. Move this around, try a new set of wheels, add, delete parts, even mess with the colors, right? You don't want to leave any stone unturned. You probably aren't going to use every single design that you try out, but that's the whole idea with this is once you do find out what you like, there's really no doubt that it's the right one because you've gone through and tried out many different things. Again, it really helps with things like design reviews, go back and show every step of the process. Then it ended up taking you to where you were and end up getting to that. So really, that's the whole idea of using the design exploration extension. It's not you digging through piles of data to end up getting to what you need. It's just all laid out there right for you.
Hey, hey, Paul, we had a question that, is there an easy way to show differences between the checkpoints?
Yes, so there is a tool that you do get within this as well that will go through and show you exactly what changed between working between iterations. That's something that you can even see just clicking between the different checkpoints. You can kind of graphically or kind of visually see the differences. But I believe there is also something that will go through and show the feature changes that happened between the different versions of the design. So you can go through and see what was reordered or what part was added, deleted. It can go through and show that as well. So either visually or actually list it out in feature based and show you exactly if something was reordered, changed, added, deleted.
Cool. Well, Paul, as always, excellent job. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, this is a fantastic tool that really more and more people are starting to get a lot of good use out of.
Yeah, someone just chatted. That was awesome. Well, thank you, Larry. Appreciate that. So if you're a 3HTI customer, we provide our clients with a minimum of 2 hours of desk side coaching. So for every license of software you have from 3HTI, we give you 1 hour, but we'll give you a minimum of 2. So if you're a customer and you want to figure out how to use design exploration extension or how to better use it, just respond to the email that I sent regarding inviting you to this webinar. If you want to send me a note in the chat right now, you can. But or in questions or whatever, but we want to help you become more proficient at using Creo. And if you get better at designing and you can design faster and we can help you do that, then that's what's in it for us, because we really want to help our customers save time and increase productivity on a daily basis. Because as we all know, no matter what line of work you're in, there's a lot of curveballs that can happen on a daily basis. You get more some days than others. So if we can make things easier for you, hopefully that helps you hit those unexpected curveballs out of the park.
Yeah, absolutely. And Rob, actually, real quick, I can show a quick visual that actually shows what Scott was asking about, the difference between the checkpoints there.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, so if you see here, if you were good to go through and work with a particular iteration here, so say you made some changes, what you could actually do here is select on that and view the changes that have happened with that particular area of the design here. So it's going to go through and graphically show you, hey, here's what was done, here's what was modified, suppressed, created, resumed, things like that. So you can kind of show the differences, and you can do that between different checkpoints of the design.
Does this do this for part files only or just on assemblies?
I believe it's just for the model, right? I think it's just between either an assembly or a part file. I can't confirm on that for sure, but I believe it's just whatever model that you have between that.
Okay. Next question. Can you go back and show the old checkpoints once you've updated your design?
Yeah, definitely. So that's kind of one of the reasons and one of the main value points that a lot of people use this for. It's just once you've gone through and made a lot of changes, you might be working on a design for a week or two, and then you realize, oh, I actually wanted to see that old revision or that old version of the file that I was working with. That's one of the nice things about design exploration, is it maintains that history of the design. So you can reference back to that. Even after you've gone through and made a lot of changes, you can go back and see that full history of the design as well. So it can kind of revert back to any point throughout that history.
Cool. All right. So I guess it's going to wrap this up for today. I'll have this. I'll have the recording up on YouTube, on our YouTube page, and send it out to everyone so you can review it at your leisure. And if you need to get in touch with us, it's this blows SolidWorks off the charts. Love it. Yes, it does. This the design exploration extension, Unite technology, and what's the other one? Flexible modeling. 22 years, Larry, with using SolidWorks. I'm really glad to hear that you're jacked up about Creo. That's awesome. I mean, we feel the same way, for the same reasons that you do. But those three elements, design exploration extension, flexible modeling, and Unite technology, really make Creo unique, and especially for the price of the software, the base license. You get so much in the base license, and I'm sorry, like SolidWorks and Autodesk, their products can't even come close to competing. And then when you get into Siemens, I don't know, that's not easy to use. It takes, it's pretty a little challenging. I think that Creo is a lot easier to use, and you can get a lot more done quicker. So it's pretty awesome software, which is why we sell it. If we thought there was something better, we'd be selling it. But we think Creo is the best, so that's why we sell Creo. If you need any other info or need anything else, info@3HTI, pretty simple to remember, info@3HTI.com, or just reply to your email invitations. They'll come directly to me. So want to thank everybody for being on. Also like to thank Larry for throwing out some really awesome energy today and being excited about the webinar. lets us know we're doing a good job and that we're presenting topics that people care about. So thanks again. Have a great Memorial Day weekend. And we're going to be off next week, but in 2 weeks, we will have another webinar for you guys. Thanks, everyone. Take care.